So as far as this year for the agency updates, okay, why is this not working? You guys see anything different than me? It's not progressing when I, okay, I just start, hit it again, please. One more time. Okay, back. My clicker's not working. Okay, go back one more. Okay, for 2022, we had 441 burns for 14,472 acres. This was down from some of the previous years that we've had. A lot of that was due to the fact of the weather that pretty much drives our programs here as far as how much we're burning. It seemed like every time it started to dry out just enough that we had some good burn windows coming in, we'd get just enough moisture to kind of knock us back. So that's kind of been some of the trends we've been going on here. So the numbers are down a little bit. Next slide, please. Here's the year since 2010 will be the first year that we actually started tracking our number of burns and the acres that we burn. So you can kind of see throughout the years what we've been doing here. And 2021 was a pretty good year for us. I'm gonna see if I can hit it with this one here. Yeah, 2021 was a pretty good year for us that we burned quite a bit. Like I said, this past year was kind of down. If you want to look at that on a chart, yeah, this ain't working either. Yeah, right here on the chart, if you look at it, you can kind of see throughout the years since we've been keeping the statistics. And a lot of this, you'll see how these numbers are going. A lot of this is driven by the Game Commission numbers. They're the biggest burner in the state. So when they have a good burn season and when they're burning a lot, these numbers are really going up. But you can kind of see as we're progressing along through the years here, we're kind of dropped down here a little bit. We had some wet weather that was there. And that's, like I said, that's what's driving everything. Get a little bit of wet weather. We're not getting a lot of burns in. And 2020, obviously that kind of dropped down because the COVID year, we weren't able to get in what we did, even though we would have had some real good burn windows that year. Unfortunately, COVID and the weather did not align correctly for us. But kind of just see it over time. There is a pretty good trend there that it is kind of working its way up. One thing where we're at, bounce it back there a sec. Yeah, one thing where we're at is where we were back in 2014. A lot of those acres that were burning, there were plans in the pipeline for. There wasn't that many more burn plans. The thing that I can see here from all the burn plans that I'm getting is right now we have a pile of burn plans that are in the pipeline ready to go. All we're waiting for is the weather. So back in 2014, 2013 there, pretty much most of the land we were burning, we had the plans for where there was not a whole lot of plans for some other additional acreage. Whereas now there's a lot of stuff that's ready to go. We just need the weather to pull the trigger. Kind of running some of the averages within the last 5 years, it's about 15,621 acres. So we're kind of right along that average here for the last 5 years is, kind of what we burned this past year. And if you go back 18, I kind of went back until kind of where it fell off here. We were over 10,000. We're still about 15, a little over 15,000 acres is our average that we're burning. Next slide, please. As far as the burns and who's doing the burning, looking at this list here, this is what I was taking in, who's doing the burning. Like if I'm getting a plan from somewhere, that's kind of how I'm putting who those acres are. So if you look, DCNR, they had 1,749 acres. The Fort Indian Town Gap had 1,719. The Game Commission had over 10,000 and so on as you go down the list. Now looking at that list, some of those numbers are kind of off from what actually is the land base. This is just going off of who was burning, who submitted the plan. So say for DCNR, some of the plans included in that, we do some burning over at Milton Hershey School. So that acreage and number of fires is included in that. The Game Commission, they do quite a bit of burning for Army Corps of Engineers at some of the dams. They do burning on some private land and they do some additional burning for some other people. So that's kind of all grouped in there. And then TNC, that's what they burn, some of them on their land. They do a lot of burning where they're leading some of the burns for DCNR and they're leading some of the burns for the Game Commission. So the numbers that you see here they're kind of not what's actually going on there. That's just who's submitting the plans. It's not showing, like TNC, it shows they're not burning a lot, but in reality, they actually are. They're assisting in a lot of burns and running a lot of the burns. Kind of put it a different way, if you slip to the next slide here, this will actually show you the ownership, but this is the land base, who owns the land. This is what I'm tracking here is who owns the land. So people want to know, how much private land we're burning. This year we were down quite a bit. We only burned 200 acres of private land this year. And that was down. I think we had 400 some last year as far as the private lands that we're actually seeing burning. But this is just, I'm breaking it down into actual ownership, who owns it. That shows you what's actually being burned out there for the different landowners. You can, next slide, please. I'm going to talk a little bit about standard changes. You can hit it again. There's going to be no major changes for this year. Next year is not going to be the same story. I'm thinking, depending how far along we move with the program here, but we're going to be moving into a different thing where they're going to be a certified burn manager program. And I'm not going to steal Zach's thunder. I'll let him talk about that. All I'll say is the standards that we have currently are still going to remain in place. And once everything's all said and done, the current standards are going to be what we're using for a lot of the agencies that are going to be out there burning. But the only changes that we really do have, if you hit it again to the next slide, is DEP has some minor changes. This is going to be new from what's in the current standard. This is the only changes that we'll be posting for this year. And all this is they had a couple of some of their directors. They might've been acting and they moved up. Now they're the director or a new director came in. So it's just a minor change. As far as what's it affecting you guys out there in the field, there's no change because all of your air quality operations chiefs that you guys are contacting, giving the plan to ahead of time and contacting burn day, those numbers are all the same. It's still the same people. So all we're looking at here is just the overhead. It's the managers in the different regions that have changed. No change for who you're contacting. You guys should still be talking to the same people. The standards, for those who don't know where they're at, they're on the Prescribed Fire Council's website. And we also do have a copy of their standards on DCNR's website. And for those of you, if you've never seen them, I'd just please go on there. I'd ask that you go on there and look and see what's required when you're submitting a burn plan. Next slide, please. Any questions on anything that I've covered? Okay, if not, next slide. We're all into the board of directors. Some years we have many people that are on the ballot for the board of directors. Some years we don't quite have as many. This year, we kind of seem to not have a whole lot of people that were put in for the board of directors. The current ones that we have that were up was Jenny Case, Kip Adams, and Steve Ferrari. Steve is stepping away for some other commitments that he has. So unfortunately, he's not going to be able to run for the board this year. And we thank him for all the help that he had. He was also our communications director. So he did a lot of work. We thank him. Hopefully we didn't burn you out, and that's why you're getting away from us. But he decided he was not going to run again. So there's no need for elections because we have 3 open seats and we have 3 people that are actually going to be running. So the board of directors that are going to be for this year, it's going to save us, hit it please, is Jenny Case from the Nature Conservancy. Please stand up. That's our current chair. Just so you guys know who they are. So if you have any questions, you can kind of chew on their ear if you have any ideas. Kip Adams, he's around here somewhere from the National Deer Association. And then our third one is going to be the new member is Dan Smith. He's a forester in the Bald Eagle State Forest in Forest District 7. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here. He was sick, but he's watching virtually. So congratulations, Dan. And if you guys were on the tour that we had a couple months ago, Dan was the one that ran that tour, did a really excellent job. It was a good showcase of what District 7, the Bald Eagle, is doing over there for their oak management. So that was, those of you who don't know him, that's the guy who ran the tour for you. So we're looking forward to him coming on board with the board here. So if I could get a round of applause for all the new people and the ones that are currently there. With that being said, I do encourage people to get involved. It is good to get new people to come into the board. Right now, we're pretty heavy state employees that are on the board. So I encourage everyone to try to get involved. Come out next year when we're looking for people for board members. Please throw your name in the hat. Some years we have piles of people that are in, and this year just kind of seemed to be a little bit slower. But try to get involved. New people bring new ideas, new enthusiasm into the board, and we're always looking for anything we can do to change things up because the same people around here kind of can get stale after a while. So please get involved. We have a lot of people sitting here, and there's a lot of people that are watching virtually. Try to get involved in the council. The more help we can get, the better off we are. Next slide, please. I also just wanted to let everybody know who the current directors are, just so you can see the faces, put a name with the face. And like I said, if you want to talk to them throughout the 2 days here. First one, Sean Robbins. He's with DCNR State Parks. Next one is Peter Hoagland from NRCS. He's up front here. Jeremy Dayhoff from the Sproul State Forest DCNR. John Tauscher from PGC, he was under the weather and he couldn't make it here as well. Josh Fuqua, who did a lot to set up for this meeting, and we really thank him because he was the heavy puller for this meeting and did a lot of work, and then myself. So if you have any questions about the council, you want to get involved, feel free to touch base with some of them people these next 2 days.